Okay, it's 1 p.m. We want to start the talk by Matt. This is vertically integrated in platform engineering. Okay, let's start. Take it away.
How about now? Perfect. Okay, to start with, I want to thank our interpreters. If you have never done that job, it is very mentally exhausting and difficult and often thankless. So I hope you all join me in thanking the interpreters for this session. I live in a very small town in Wisconsin in the United States, and there are only 2 restaurants. So if you don't want to cook, these are your only options. There's a Subway and a McDonald's. If you don't cook a lot, this is all you have. If you've never understood the excitement of having a third option, it's big. So there was another restaurant that came to our small town called Chef Steph's. And Chef Steph is a chef. And unlike Subway and McDonald's, Chef Steph really knew how to cook. She made fantastic food. But her business did not survive. Her business did not survive because Chef Steph was not very good at running a business. Her food was wonderful. It was fantastic, best food in the town. And we went many, many times, my wife and I. But sometimes we would go and she would not be open. We didn't know why, but the restaurant would not be open. And what happened was, eventually, when it came time for us to question where we wanted to eat that night, we just kind of stopped thinking about that as an option. I think most people in the town had that same problem, which is why she eventually closed. I'm telling you this story because the core, one of the core messages of this talk is that it is not enough to be just a good craftsperson. All of you in this room are probably very good at what you do in building software. When you are running a business, it is not enough to just be doing that. And one of the things that I want to tell you is that all of you are part of a small business. Whether or not you realize it at this moment, DevOps, or in my case, platform engineering, I believe operates as a business within the business. So you are all part of a small business. You are all craftspeople. This talk is to help you understand that it is not enough to only be a craftsperson if you want your small business to survive and to provide value. So now what I want to do for the moment is have you all assume the role of CEOs. You are all CEOs, honorary CEOs, for the duration of this talk. I want to help you get into the mindset. So try these on. Repeat after me. Synergy, cost performance, shareholder value. Excellent. Think outside the box, but within the budget. Now turn to the person next to you and tell them they're fired. Well done. I think you are ready. So now that you are all small business owners, the next thing that I want to do is introduce you to some business terms that will be useful to you for this conversation. And specifically, vertical integration, which is part of the title of this talk, is something that I would like you all to understand. Vertical integration, defined loosely, is when a company will own part of its supply chain. The supply chain being all of the different pieces that eventually make up the end product that goes to customers. As an example here, close to home, we can talk about Toyota. Toyota is known for having vertically integrated parts of its supply chain. When you look at a Toyota, a car, we could take even just a piece of it, like a tire, a wheel in this case, and break it down into the components of its supply chain. And if you were to ask this next question, which is how many companies does this represent? Typically, you would have many different companies represented. So Toyota itself, for example, may assemble the cars and assemble the wheels, but the wheels and tires maybe are built by other companies. The iron or steel, the rubber, and the raw materials that come to create all of those things are often built by many, many different companies. In a vertical integration scenario, it looks different. So this would be, for example, a partial vertical integration where Toyota might decide that it wants to own also the ability to build tires and maybe even the production of the rubber that goes into those tires. If you wanted to do full integration, and this is usually beyond what most companies are capable of doing because the scale is insane, but you might own all of those things if you are Toyota. You may own rubber plantations. You may own mines, and then build everything to the end product there. You may be asking yourself at this point, but why would a company ever do this? And the reasons usually come down to quality, cost, supply security, and innovation. Now, quality, for example, might mean that Toyota decides that the tires that it is buying from its suppliers are not consistent in their quality. So they decide that in order to achieve better and more consistent quality, they need to purchase and make the tires. For cost, sometimes they can do it in a more cost-effective way. Supply security is the idea that maybe tires are a scarce resource, or rubber or iron ore is a scarce resource that they want to have better control over and never come to a place where they can no longer make a car because they don't have access to the resource. Innovation is another point here because you may decide that you can build a better tire than what is out there right now, so you're going to start building tires too. There's another example here, which is vertical disintegration. It's when you go in reverse, and you have probably seen some of this in the news recently. Boeing decided to vertically disintegrate over a number of years, primarily for cost, but at the expense of quality. There have been, again, a number of news articles, and all of this comes down to, through vertical disintegration, going the other way, they have lost quality. So you can see this kind of in reverse too. And you're probably thinking to yourself, great, but we're not making airplanes or cars. So how does this apply to us, CEOs? And my question to you is, what are you building? And if you are here, you may not be building even the end product. You might be building intermediate products. Let's visualize the software supply chain. This is the company that I work for, Fanatics, and the product that we make is effectively a mobile application. If we try to create or visualize the supply chain for that mobile application, it probably looks something like this. You have build artifacts, You have servers, you have the artifacts that get deployed both to the servers and to your end users. To create those, you have a developer platform, build processes, test processes, all of that. This is a very huge space that I'm collapsing into one logo, but I think you know how big that space is. And then you have the code itself that's built by a team of developers. And then if we wanted to extend this further, we could add things like electricity, which fuels the servers, and coffee, which fuels the developers. You get the idea. This is a supply chain for what we do, a very simple version of it. And if we apply the idea of vertical integration to this, what does it look like if a company is vertically integrated in the space? This would be one level of vertical integration where a company may own all of its servers, or what we would say bare metal. And if you own all of this, then the only things you aren't purchasing, or that you are purchasing, I should say, are coffee and electricity and all the other things. There's a lot more here. But if you're running your own servers, they are part of your supply chain and you're vertically integrated into running your own servers. If you are using an infrastructure as a service provider, for example, AWS, GCP, Azure, then you are not vertically integrated into that space. You are purchasing that as a commodity from another supplier. If you are going full platform as a service, maybe even your developer platform is not something that you own. Most likely, you still have a team that has to manage that. So it's unlikely that full platform as a service, pulling that out of your vertical integration stack, it's not very realistic. And then if you go full platform as a service and even contract out your engineering team, it might even look like this, where your company owns the product, but everything else is all built or managed by contractors. I know this was a lot to go through, but I want you to see how the concept of vertical integration applies even here to what we do in software engineering and in the DevOps world. And the point that I want to convey is that we, all of us in the DevOps space, we have a product that is part of the supply chain. That developer platform, that's our product. So back to this question, Matt, I'm asking myself here, what do you build? What are you building? When we pull this up and we strip away everything that is sort of noise here, we're left with two things. One of them is the company that the product that the overall company builds. And what I build is not that. If you were to ask me, what am I building? Matt, head of platform engineering at Fanatics, my product is not the application. My engineers are not building that. On a day-to-day basis, my platform engineers are building the developer platform. We are a vertically integrated company within a company. And if this is what you do, so are you. Now, there's a lot in this space. This one little logo contains many, many things. Build systems, release management, pipeline orchestration. We can keep hitting the button. New stuff keeps applying. There's a lot here. It's a very big space. It's a whole thing. In fact, I would say it's a whole company. And it's your company. So when I say now back to the title that this is a study in vertical integration and that you are a company within a company, this is what I mean. These are your products. If you are in the DevOps space, if you are in the platform engineering space, which I know there's a distinction there, but that's what I do. And this talk is really not about what is platform engineering, but if you pay attention, you'll probably learn what my definition of platform engineering is. This is what we do. Now, this is where we come to the point where you're probably saying, but we don't have all of those things that a whole company has, right? My team, we're just engineers. And that's true. In my platform organization, I only have engineers. I don't have salespeople. I don't have marketing managers. I don't have talent or recruiters. I don't have customer support representatives. I don't have solutions architects. If you are a whole company, you probably have all of these things, all of these people working in these roles. And I don't. We are just another set of engineers. We don't have those people as defined roles. But we still need to do those things, or we will risk losing the company. Now, in this context, what do I mean by losing the company, right? If we go back to the beginning and the restaurant that closed, what is the analogy here? Like, what does it mean to lose the company as if you are an internal company within a company? It can mean a few things. So these are let's talk about the failure modes. One of them is that if you are in charge of the platform organization or the DevOps organization, that you get fired. If you're not doing your job well, if you are not providing the services that the larger company of which you are a part needs, you may get fired. You probably will get fired. Or because you will fail to meet goals and deadlines, or you may have poor customer satisfaction. CSAT here, if you're not familiar, stands for customer satisfaction. And your customers are the other engineers at the company and the executives of your parent company. If you don't make them happy, you will probably get fired. Or you may not get fired, but you might have engineers on your team that are unhappy with how things are going, that don't feel like they are providing value. They might decide to quit. You may not be able to get or retain good engineers to work with. You might have engineers burn out and decide that they just can't keep going. And you may have cascading failure, which means that if you fail, if the company within the company fails bad enough, the parent company may also fail. So let's talk now about how not to lose the company. The next portions of this are basically all about that. How do we do these things? How do we provide product management, sales, customer support, all of these things in this context as a company within the company? And I want to talk first about products. There is a spectrum, I believe, when it comes to DevOps teams. I call this the ops dev spectrum. And on one side, if you are more ops correlated, then the idea generally, the way this plays out is when somebody wants something, they make a ticket for you, like a database. They'll say, I need a new database. They will put a ticket in, you fulfill that ticket, create a database, and then hand the database back to your developers and say, there you go. And here's the credentials to access it. If you are more on the dev side of the ops dev spectrum, then you tend to focus on creating self-service interfaces so that the developers can do all of that themselves. And your focus is more on the automation, the development and engineering side. Here, if you are on the ops side, you will try to follow best practices. If you are on the dev side, you will try to build best practices into your tooling that you provide to developers. If you're on the ops side, you are probably responding to almost every incident at the company. If you are on the dev side, you are probably only responding to the incidents for the tooling that you have built and the infrastructure that you have created for the company. There tends to be this idea of extreme ownership on the ops side. We own everything. The buck stops with us. I'm sorry, I know that's an idiom. I'm apologizing to the interpreters. That everything is your problem. Whereas on the dev side, we tend to try to create mechanisms whereby teams and service owners can feel that sense of extreme ownership within their space. Now, back to the idea that you are a company within a company. If you are more on the ops side, you are a services company. You are there to provide services. If you are more on the dev side, you are a product company. You are building products. These two paradigms function very differently. All right. Now we're going to bring this over to product management. We talked about product managers and needing product managers. We don't have them, usually. I know there's one person in this room that is a product manager for a platform organization, and you are a unicorn. Usually this does not happen. We don't often get dedicated product managers for our company within the company. Usually the company wants the product managers focused not in our space, but at what the company cares about. And the company doesn't care usually about your developer platform, the parent company. They care about their product. So where do the PMs go? They get assigned to that product, not yours, usually. But you still need them, or rather you still need to do product management for your space. There's a story here that I'll try to tell quickly, which is once I worked with a build team, and their product was the build system. And they created a build system for our software, that our pipeline, that worked. It wasn't fantastic, but it worked. Sometimes it had problems. The user experience or developer experience probably could have been better, but it worked. After they got that working, the team decided that they wanted to build the next version of the build system because they were the build team. What else were they going to do? So they decided to build the best build system ever. And they did all the research, read through all of the forums, decided what all the best practices were for the best build systems, and built the worst build system imaginable. Because what they didn't do was talk to their customers. What they didn't do was product management. They decided that as engineers, they knew best, and they never talked to the engineers at their company that were actually going to be using the build system. This was a failure of product management. So the moral of the story here is that you probably don't have or won't have dedicated product managers for your DevOps space, but you still need to do product management. You, as engineers or as leaders of this space, need to make sure that you are constantly checking with your customers to ensure that you are aligned with their needs. For a small tangent here, I haven't always worked in the DevOps space, and my experience working with product managers has given me some opinions on good ones and bad ones. And this will help to explain how I believe that it is still possible to do good product management even without dedicated product managers. So bad product managers believe that engineers should not go anywhere near customers, that you can't talk to them, that you speak different languages. Good product managers believe that you must communicate with your customers directly, that engineers and customers need to be talking. Bad product managers believe that you require a translator as an engineer to talk to a customer. Good product managers believe that their job is to supplement the communication and help when there are potential misunderstandings, but for the most part, try not to be in that interaction as much as possible. Bad product managers gatekeep your interactions with customers. In other words, bad product managers do not want engineers talking to customers without a product manager present. Good product managers try to bring you together. They facilitate greater action, greater interaction. They want engineers and customers in the same room talking to each other as much as possible. It is all about context transfer. This is DevOps, one of the core themes of DevOps, if I may presume to make an assertion here. One of the core themes of DevOps is bringing more contexts together, right? We sometimes say this as breaking down silos. Good product managers help break down silos and combine contexts. So much of that is because our customers are often not easy for us to get access to. But as a company within a company, your customers are the engineers at your company. You have direct and open access to your customers. You can Slack them, you can email them, you can potentially, if you are in the same office, walk over and shake their hand and say hi. You can do this without a PM, and you need to, or you may lose the company. Okay, sales and marketing. What does sales and marketing mean within the context of the company within the company? Because you already have dedicated customers, right? You're a dedicated supplier to a certain set of customers that are effectively a captive audience. So let's follow this through. If the goal of sales, generally speaking, is to grow your annual recurring revenue, this is a massive simplification. People in sales are probably shaking their head at me at this moment. But if this is the goal of sales and marketing, and we can draw a parallel between annual recurring revenue and the budget that you have internally to fund your platform engineering organization, and we can again simplify and say that the budget is the number of headcount or the number of people that you are funded for in your organization. And that the headcount is maybe even just, we can abstract that further and say that headcount can be equated to your ability to build products and support the parent company. Then in this context, the goal of sales and marketing is to ensure that you maintain and grow your ability to provide the parent company with the services that it needs. So sales is making sure that you're getting the headcount that you need. Sales and marketing is making sure that you haven't entered into this death spiral where you only have 6 people in your on-call rotation, and the next time one of them has to go on sick leave, the 5 people left are all going to have mental breakdowns, right? It's ensuring that you have the right resources. That is sales and marketing work. And specifically, it's sales and marketing work because they don't know. The company doesn't know this magically. Like, when does the company know that it needs more engineers? I want to share 2 stories with you here. Maybe it's one, but there are two, probably more than two, but there are two great disillusionments in my life that I can point to. Times when something that I thought was true were proven to be false. One of those is that as a child, I believed that adults knew everything, that adults were adults. You have this idea, your parents tell you to mind other adults. And at some age, you figure out that that is completely false, that there is no such thing as adults, that people my age or your age or older, none of us have it all figured out. And in that moment, you realize you've been lied to. It's a disillusionment. The second, for me, that persisted even beyond that first disillusionment was that I still believed that somebody somewhere was an adult. And that it had to be that the leaders of large companies or large organizations or governments, that surely these people at least knew what they were doing. And when you start working in the professional world, you realize that that too is false. That there is nothing magical about being a CEO. I'm sorry, I know I made you all CEOs. I did not confer upon you magically the ability to understand everything in doing so. The leaders at your organization, at my organization, I myself am a leader at my organization. I don't know what I'm doing most of the time. And that is the reality. So to this question of, shouldn't they know? Shouldn't the company know when you need more resources? There are no adults. They're not omniscient. They don't know everything. And so you have to tell them. We're going to run through this thought exercise. So the first here, you are all CEOs in this moment of a business-to-business software company. For the sake of simplicity, we will say that you are all offering a DevOps product. How much do you charge for that product? What is the price? You have a whole team that figures that out. What is the going rate in the market? What are your competitors doing? All of that. Now, change that, same question, but your customers get to choose. How much do your customers pay when they get to choose how much they pay? Probably as close to nothing as they can. But number two, that's not just a thought exercise. This is what is happening inside your company within a company. The parent company gets to choose how much they pay for you. How much are they going to pay? As little as possible, most of the time. So you have to tell them. You have to tell them how much they should be paying. And like every sales interaction, that is going to take more data than just your opinions. You have to sell to them. And you have to sell, this is very important, you have to sell to more than just the engineers. It is not enough to just create great internal products. Engineers can love your products, and your finance team may still cut your budget. You have to convince the leaders at your company, which includes your finance team, how much they should be paying for you. And you need marketing materials. So these are things that answer questions related to that interaction. And I'm going to start speeding up to make sure that I don't run out of time here. But marketing materials, these are some examples. This is a chart that my team puts together every sprint that helps show, and if you look at this data, you'll see that there are problems with it. Some smoothing needs to be applied for our release cadence, but we try to show how we are used, what we are delivering, how much of our time is spent in supporting other teams, how much is spent in meetings, how much is spent in delivering defined projects. And all of that is set against our capacity, how many people we have, how much work we can do. Another, the DORA metrics. If you're familiar with the DORA metrics, these are a set of data points that can help convince the company either to continue to invest in your space or not. Is the company doing well according to the DORA metrics, or are they not? These are things that you can use in this conversation. Customer satisfaction or net promoter scores, surveys. These are things that you can and should be sending out to your customers, the engineering teams. This helps your C-level, your CEOs, your fellow CEOs, your CTOs understand how well you are doing. And resource utilization, in this case, this is a planning document that my team works with. And this helps show what we are able to commit to and what we are not able to commit to based on our resources. It's a very powerful story when you can tell your leadership what they don't get because you don't have the people. These are all marketing materials, and you need to use them to make sure that you have enough resources. And if you don't, you may fail. All right, customer support. What does this mean? First, let's start by defining interrupt work. Interrupt work is anything that you didn't plan for or point out ahead of time. There's a lot of this. The usual suspects are things like product and customer support. So the tools that you build, you need to support your engineers to use them. Solutions architecture. Again, you build self-service interfaces to your infrastructure. You need to help people understand how to use those. Many of my engineers spend a lot of their time working with other engineers in the company, helping them understand how to interface with or consume our products. And then there's always random things that come up. The business says we need X or Y, and you just have to go do it. You can't really plan for them last minute. This is, I'm sure, more common in agile spaces than in waterfall spaces, but I think you get the idea. There is a problem here, which is that your interrupt work is something that if you make your engineers do, they slow down at engineering. But your interactions with support are better and faster when they are served by the engineers. The people who built the thing are the best at supporting the thing. And these interactions drive product alignment. They help you make the right product. Back to the previous section about product management, this isn't just customer support. This is also product management. And engineers who have to context switch between writing the software, writing the tools, and supporting it are generally unhappy because context switching is not fun. But engineers who only ever support and don't get to build are also miserable. So this leads us to a place where you only get to choose one thing. You can either optimize for straight line engineering velocity, which means that you create some number of these engineers that don't have to do support so that they can build your products as fast as possible, which comes with the problem of those engineers that are then building these support tools don't get the product interactions with the people they're building them for. And the people that are not in that pocket of engineers that are only building are miserable. Or you can prioritize product alignment and support efficiency, which is where all of your engineers are part of your on-call and support rotation, but your straight line engineering velocity suffers and your engineers are unhappy. Or you can try to prioritize the happiness of your DevOps engineers, which, if you've been paying attention to the last two bullet points, is not possible. So don't even try. So for my organization, and this may be different for you, but this is an opinion that I have taken, I have chosen to prioritize product alignment and support efficiency. All of my engineers, all of my platform engineers that are building platform tooling are also in the support rotation, supporting the products and on call for them. Now, I do that because team velocity, which suffers in this model, is something that you can address through planning and communicating to the business. And poorly aligned products and unhappy customers are much harder to fix. Ultimately, DevOps engineers, this comes to the happiness piece. Your engineers will be less happy making poorly aligned products and having to redo work than if they have to context switch. So while you're never going to find an approach that makes all of your engineers happy, I believe this gives them the most happiness. Lastly, let's talk about hiring. Back to this, on the DevOps spectrum, where one of these is a services company and the other is a product company, I believe you want to be on the product side. I for lots of reasons, but ultimately, I believe that it creates the happiest engineering culture and the one where people are able to scale best. But for this, you need engineers. Ops people will have a very difficult time adapting to this culture. You need engineers for these reasons. These are some graphs that will make you sad. Each of these shows the demand for your products and services based on parts of the company, the parent company. So the demand for your services and products will scale based on the size of the engineering organization. As the organization gets bigger, they need more of what you do. As they get more complex and have more teams and you have more stakeholders, there's more work for you to do. As the products, the parent company's products get larger, there is more work for you to do and more to support. And as the complexity of those products increases, there is more for you to do, more for you to support. All of these things happen over time in an organization. There is only one graph that will save your sanity, and it is this one. It is that the demand, the only way for you to reduce the demand, aside from, it doesn't reduce the demand to just buy more people, to get more engineers. You have to invest in your own automation. The things that your engineers are doing to support the other engineers all day long, you have to automate those things constantly. That is the only way to counteract all of these forces, is to invest in automation. And it requires engineers. The other part of this is that it's a two-sided problem. What I mean by that is that the same thing we do in product management of trying to get the context of our customers co-located with our engineers who are building the products, you need to do to be effective. And the context of your customers are the other engineers at the company. So it helps when you have engineers who have been there, who know what it's like to be consumers of your products. The other thing here is that you need good communicators. Everybody is going to be on call. Everybody is going to be supporting the product. Everybody is going to be talking to customers. They have to be great communicators. The common wisdom of managing a poor communicator as a manager is to put them in a closet and slip them work under the door and then not let them talk to anybody. But there are no closets in DevOps. The whole thing is about collaboration and communication. And customer interactions are not a thing to be wasted on poor communicators. So when you're hiring, you have to have excellent communicators. This is the last statement I'll make here. And it is that in all of this, in everything that we have done here in DevOps, one of the main themes is that breaking down of contexts, or the combination of contexts. What is DevOps? Is it dev Yes. Is it ops? Yes. Is it security? It's that too. Is it testing? Is it quality? Is it product management? It's all of these things. It's also business. And when DevOps is run as a business, then business is DevOps too. And that's what I'm trying to communicate here. What I'd like for all of us to be able to consider is that running this business is something that we all do together. It is not merely enough to be an excellent craftsperson. You have to be more than that. Put on your DevOps hat and bring in business context, because that's DevOps too. And if you do that, I believe you will have a greater chance at not losing the business. Thank you very much.
Thank you. It's 1:46. We will have the next talk at 2 p.m. until 2. It's a break time. If you have question, please contact him during this break time. Yes. Okay, thank you.